some ideas are truly life-changing. What I've called here Spinoza's Happiness Algorithm is actually life-changing if you understand it. Of course, Spinoza didn't call it this, and in fact to get to what I've put on this slide, you would have to plough through a fairly large part of Spinoza's ethics. But this is a very condensed form of what he was talking about, because Spinoza was primarily concerned with putting an end to man's sadness. That was the word he used, sadness. But for the sad emotions, you can include in there anger, envy, jealousy, derision, hatred, all the stuff that is the content of our daily life usually. So this happiness algorithm is a life-changing thing if you understand it, and I'll do my best to try and explain it. Of course, you have to do a fair amount of work to make it work. In the way I've explained here, it's not really quite so simple as doing these things. You have to understand quite a lot. But hopefully I'll give you a taste for the findings that Spinoza came up with that kind of guarantee happiness. Now, you can see I put a quote at the very end of this. And this quote is one of the strangest things in the whole of Spinoza's ethics, in my opinion. He says, "Therefore, insofar as we understand God," and for the word God you can use the word existence. So therefore, insofar as we understand existence to be the cause of pain, we to that extent feel pleasure. The important word there is understand. And in fact, understanding is the key to this whole thing. So let me start. Whether you like it or not, your primary desire is to exist and to have power in existence. You don't just want to exist as a as a thing that lies on the couch all day drinking beer and eating cookies. That is not going to make you happy. You want to exist with a sense of power. Now there are two ways to get power. One is to go searching for it externally, so more money, more sexual conquests, more fame, all that kind of stuff, more gadgets. The other one is to look for it within yourself, to develop power within yourself to be able to understand things, because understanding is a power. To have an active mind is a power, not just to be a passive recipient of the things that happen to you in life. So your primary desire is this power for existence, and that power is the power to be active, because existence is active. For the mind to be active, not to be a passive recipient. The problem with so many things in this line of work, religions, self-help, spiritual things and so on, is that people get hold of a book, they read it, they are passive, they just soak it all up like a sponge. And because there has been no active meditation on their part usually, because they've just accepted all this, it might be some bullshit about we're all one, there's a God in heaven, eventually we will achieve bliss and happiness, and we read this stuff, we just take it in, and then once we finish reading the book we go outside and somebody's run a key down the side of our car, and we come back in and the dog's had a shit on the carpet, and all those things that we've just read go out the window. If we had our own internal power, then we'd be able to process those things in a meaningful way. But because we don't, we just get angry and pissed off and then look for the next self-help book or whatever. So, whether you like it or not, this is the fundamental thing that will give your life meaning and make you happy if you develop your own inner power, an active mentation, figuring things out, trying to understand them. So happiness is an increase in power. Again, there are two aspects to that. One is that you find that great Aunt Gertrude has left you $1 million and you're happy. External things. The problem is, of course, that you're going to be a hostage to fortune, because maybe great Aunt Gertrude has left you $1 million, or maybe you find that somebody has stolen all the money out of your bank account. In one case you're going to be happy because you've had an increase in power, and on the next one, if somebody's stolen the money from your bank account, then you're going to be unhappy. So just being a hostage to fortune isn't a very good way really of trying to get power. You may get a promotion at work, you may not get a promotion at work, you may end up dating that gorgeous person that you saw in a cafe a few days ago. You may not end up dating them. Being a hostage to fortune is not really a very good way of proceeding in this. So the power that we're looking for is our own inner power, a power of understanding and of active mentation. This will make you happy, believe it or not. And so unhappiness is a decrease of power. So say something fairly devastating happens, say someone who is very close to you dies, you are going to experience a decrease of power. You can't help it. This life instinct that we have, this desire to exist with power, is going to be diminished because someone who you loved has died, and that cannot help but affect you and make you feel diminished, reduce your power. However, there are ways to process this kind of thing. If you fundamentally understand at all times what is going on within you, that you are either experiencing an increase of power because you are becoming active, thinking about things, pondering on things, trying to understand things, or you are losing power through just becoming passive, becoming a couch potato, drinking tins of Coke, eating cookies, watching movies. If you understand that that is the difference between happiness and unhappiness, this inner activity, then at least if something dreadful happens, you can try and understand it. Oh yes, I'm feeling down because this friend of mine that I was very close to has died. And that reminds me of my own mortality. And I used to have a lot of fun and pleasure with this friend of mine, and that's gone. So the understanding of what's going on will help you diminish the effect of what's going on. So finally, understanding unhappiness creates happiness. Because you are in the act of understanding why you are unhappy, puts you in an active frame of mind, which gives you power, inner power, the power of understanding, the power of forming what Spinoza would call adequate ideas. And in fact, Spinoza goes as far as to say that the only activity, the only power of your mind is the power to form what he calls adequate ideas, to gain understanding. So by understanding unhappiness, you can create some level of happiness, or at least reduce your unhappiness. This is the happiness algorithm. It may all seem very simple. It's not simple. To do this requires a lot of practice. It requires a certain amount of mindfulness, the ability to observe what's going on within you, and the ability not to wholly identify with what's going on within you, so that you can step outside of it and look at it with a mind that is active and try to understand what's going on. But this is the happiness algorithm. This algorithm says nothing about whether this these dynamics are fair or just, or whether life is just or fair. It is just a way of processing life. And just like everything in the universe is subject to laws, if I drop a brick, it goes down, it doesn't go up. Just like life is subject to all these laws, we are subject to laws. And the happiness algorithm is a law as far as human beings are concerned. The more active you become within, the more you try and understand, the more you will have your own inner power, and the more happy you will be. And in fact, happy is a poor word to use in actual fact. The more joyful you will be, because this inner power will give you joy. And as Spinoza says, the mind delights in its own activity. So this is a wholly different approach to happiness and joy than the passive approaches, which are usually detailed in self-help and spiritual books and all that kind of thing. This requires effort on your part, and it requires you to actively mentate, to actively think about what is happening, always with a view to that very first item on there. Is my power of existence being enhanced, or is it being diminished? And that is it. That is the human lot. Anyway, I hope that's useful.